Welcome, 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 everybody, to another episode of Political Pain. We are live. It's November 7th, 2025, from the federally occupied state of California, the great state of California. Got a lot to talk about tonight. I got to be real. I had more, I had a full interview episode planned, and my guest, young organizer by the name of Cesar Vasquez, he had to call out because what he does is he does organizing for immigrants' rights, and volunteers that he works with are being targeted by ICE and a local police department here on the central coast of California. So this is the realities of living under federal occupation in the state of California. We are under constant surveillance, constant violent threat, constant attack, frankly, from the federal Gestapo masked thugs of the Trump administration. Looks like I got two viewers here. Hello, my two viewers. If you want to say hi in the chat, I would love to share your chat up on screen and respond to you and say hello. If you don't know me, my name is Joe Payne. One second. My cat's begging to be let in. I know who the real star of the show is here, everybody. But hopefully she'll come up and say hi. She loves to hang out with me. You can see the claw marks on the back of my chair here. But my name is Joe Payne. I'm an independent journalist from the Central Coast of California. I'm located in Santa Maria, California. Beautiful, sunny, coastal Santa Maria, California. I have tried to provide local news, national news commentary from a left perspective. You can follow me on YouTube, TikTok, Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook. I'm not as active on all of them as I'd like to be all the time, but I do my best. You know, I do what I can with what I got. So I do like to have certain colors and certain things going on here. But there we go. We got the settings right. So hello, welcome to the show. There's been a lot going on. Like I said, I plan to do a interview show tonight with an immigrants' rights activist named Cesar. But some volunteers up the coast a bit here are being boxed in by ICE officers in a local police department. So he has to help with that, which I understand. But that just goes to show you what life is like here in California with when federal agents are stalking our streets, snatching people away. I have some stories I want to look at and things I want to talk about, but also waiting for people to find the stream. It's been a long time since I've done this. I'm trying to get back on the horse, as it were. Again, you can follow me online. But yeah, my name is Joe Payne, Political Pain. I'm an independent journalist. Worked for years at a local newspaper here in town called The Sun. And I took kind of a hiatus from my YouTube channel here to complete school. I graduated earlier in June at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo to the north here. I could talk a little bit more about that later if y'all are interested in what I studied. It's pretty interesting, I think, anyway. I got a history degree, a master's in history. But, we are living through historical times right now, as it were. And part of that is the current government and the authoritarian escalation that we've seen. As long as I've been politically aware, it appeared to me as a young man growing up here in the Santa Maria Valley that I very much grew up under the shadow of the George W. Bush administration. That's the second Bush administration. that Republicans had a very strong authoritarian streak. And, um, the Patriot Act, the war on terror post 9/11. I was one of those millennials who we watched 9/11 happen in class. Actually, I stayed home sick that day. So I watched 9/11 from home. But I remember we continued to watch it the next day, and I had teachers comment on it. But that, within a few years after that, we had already expanded. The war on terror was a global war. We invaded Afghanistan, the United States, and then Democrats and Republicans alike were stepping in line behind George W. Bush to expand the federal government, the police state. And that's when ICE was created. If you don't remember that, I'm sorry to have to remind you, but that's when ICE as an agency was a reformation of different enforcement agencies. ICE, the NSA, these are all part of the Department of Homeland Security, the DHS, that formed under George W. Bush. And, this is a federal apparatus that Barack Obama did not dismantle. And therefore, we are living with the outcome of those decisions, and basically handed the authoritarian toolkit over. And I should say, Joe Biden didn't dismantle any of this either. And so we handed this authoritarian toolkit over to Donald Trump for his third or second, rather, crack at, you get accused of paranoia if I was accused of paranoia years ago when I said Trump was a fascist, when he was attacking the free press, calling us the enemy of the people. I recognize that as a sign of fascism and tyranny, and I wasn't afraid of saying so back then, but people were quick to tell you were overreacting and that you were hysterical. Don't be a hysterical liberal, right? And now that doesn't seem so out of the ordinary, or so, it doesn't seem so paranoid these days, does it? ICE has been deployed, masked secret police have been deployed all across our country. But we've also seen the military deployed in the country against the populace, including here in California, here in my beautiful home state of California. And, urban centers have been vilified for a long time. Los Angeles has been the scapegoat and villain of the right wing across the country for a long time. They've always kind of hated Hollywood, if you weren't paying attention. But just the fact that we had Marine Corps deployed to LA, that should have been, once the military started getting deployed against the populace, essentially, that should have been a big warning sign for everybody. Hey, it looks like I have 3 viewers right now, 2 on YouTube, 1 on Twitch. Say hello, please. If you say hello, I will probably be able to see it here on the streaming platform I'm using. And I definitely want to say hi. We're up to 4 now. Hey, everybody. 2 on Twitch, 2 on YouTube. Good to see you all. I'm Joe Payne, political Payne, independent journalist, historian. I even do music as well. You might see the guitar over my shoulder, but out of Santa Maria, California. I like to share my thoughts and opinions while we're still allowed to do that, of course. But having a good time today. Had my day off from my day job. My views always reflect those of me and myself alone, and not those of any of my employers or any employer, past, present, or future. But here in California, we live with this constant specter of federal agents stalking our neighborhoods. Anytime they could be snatching our friends or neighbors off the street, taking them away. There's been several videos that have come out recently that are just downright horrifying. Horrifying. A man in Massachusetts having a seizure as they tried to snatch him and his wife, who's holding their baby, away. The most inhuman, horrifying possible thing you could imagine. And we are seeing. I don't love I don't love sharing footage like this, but I do think it is important for us not to look away from the horrors of this authoritarian regime. So, this is my Instagram page. You can follow me at Political Payne, and where I try to keep an ongoing, just update. Everybody shares stories, but I use my Political Payne stories as just kind of a running news cycle. And here's this man having a seizure as ICE goons and a local police department are cooperating, trying to snatch these people. These are just normal, regular working people in the community. I live in an immigrant community, a community with a lot of immigrants that live here, and this is nothing short of a reign of terror. There was another encounter with ICE where they were taking someone's little baby away, and come to find out this was a citizen. So, make no mistake, ICE is swooping up citizens, and they're racially profiling. The conservative Supreme Court has given them carte blanche to racially profile people if you have brown skin or you speak Spanish. And mine's not perfect, but I can speak Spanish. Es importante para todos hablando español en el estado de California y escucha y practicar. But we know what's going on here. We know what this is about. This is a federally mandated ethnic cleansing of Latinos. People are not surviving in ICE custody either. This is a man who lost his life in ICE custody. And I can't tell you, I have to be real. This is all designed to be intentionally demoralizing, terrorizing, and terrifying for our communities. It's a reign of terror. That's the best, that's to me the most accurate explanation of what is going on. We're watching a reign of terror being enacted. U.S. citizens are being caught in this dragnet. And here is a person in Chicago who's a citizen who's asked to show his papers. This is 1930s Germany stuff. He cannot walk down the street without being asked to prove his citizenship. Show me your papers before we'll let you walk down the street. It's flagrantly against the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution, unlawful search and seizure. But this political regime does not care at all about. This political coalition does not care one whit about the Constitution. In fact, they're openly at war with it. And that's something we have to come to terms with. That's something we have to recognize just as a fact. I scared a couple people away, so sorry for getting real there on you. But this is heavy duty stuff. I promise you, I'm getting to some hopeful stuff in a bit. I definitely want to talk about the elections. That was my cat, Hamburguesa Burger. She's back here. She's crying. You hear that? Yeah, she's crying out for attention. So maybe I'll get a cute kitty cat here on screen. Don't worry, it's not all going to be doom and gloom the whole show. But I do want to point out that ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, they do exist with collaboration from your local law enforcement agencies. And if you don't think that's the case, maybe you're lucky, but it probably is the case that, first of all, if we are honest for a moment, there's nothing that a municipal police department or other police departments can do against the authority of the federal government. The way that the United States government is arranged is the federal government's at the top. Below that, you have state government, then county government, then city and township governments. There's really no jurisdiction that your local police department has over ICE, and they could choose not to collaborate. But I live in Santa Maria, California, and we're in Santa Barbara County here in California, and we have a sheriff who openly declares that he won't even update our local representative body, the County Board of Supervisors, about the functions of ICE in our county. So you have rogue agencies, rogue sheriffs who aren't just, aren't just feel like their hands are tied, but they're supportive and they're collaborative with ICE. Okay, that's just the case, and it's awful. You hate to see it, but that's just the way it is. That's our Sheriff Bill Brown, and there is also, there is so much to say about this, but sheriffs are not answerable to sheriffs are not answerable to basically anybody. It's an elected position. Have been sheriffs that have committed all kinds of crimes, and it really is on them to step down. And you really do need a higher agency to come in and investigate them. But in this case, our county supervisors just asked our sheriff Bill Brown for some basic updates about what our county sheriffs are doing, if they're collaborating with ICE, or if just what they asked him for an update of what is ICE doing, and he said no thanks, because it could be construed as an obstruction of law. And during the last Trump administration, Bill Brown was shown to be collaborating with ICE. He wouldn't say much about it. But Bill Brown has also been involved with a group that is like the National Sheriff's Association, basically. And I just want to remind people of something that happened during Trump's first administration in office from 2016 to 2020. And who remembers Jeff Sessions? This was Jeff Sessions. Jefferson Beauregard Sessions was the Attorney General under this was under Trump point one. And this is him talking to the Association of Sheriffs that I just talked to you. I just mentioned you about that. Our local sheriff, he was actually the chair. Bill Brown was like the president or the head of this organization for a time. But listen to what Jeff Sessions had to say back during Trump's first administration, real quick.
Thank you all.
Law enforcement.
Thank
officers,
you.
Directors of agencies.
The office of sheriff is a critical part of the Anglo-American heritage of law enforcement. We must never erode this historic office. I know this. You know this. We want to be partners. We don't want to be bosses. We want to strengthen you and help you be more effective in your work.
Did you hear that? Let's hear it one more time.
Thank you. The office of sheriff is a critical part of the Anglo-American heritage of law enforcement.
The Anglo-American heritage of law enforcement. That is what Jeff Sessions said back then in during Trump's first administration. He talked about the Anglo heritage of law enforcement. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you? What does that tell you about this administration? What does that tell you about what ICE is doing right now? This is an ethnic cleansing. Make no mistake. Our government is committing an ethnic cleansing on the daily across multiple states. I'm dropping something in the chat on YouTube really quick. just to see if I can actually see your comments. So please comment if you're watching. Please comment. Um, I can put your comment up on the screen like this. We can talk about it. Please follow Political Payne on other platforms. I'm on YouTube, TikTok, Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook. Yes, I'm on TikTok. It's a strange place, but I am gaining some followers, as time progresses. But back to the subject. Again, I'd love to hear from you, any and all who are listening. Please comment. Let's have a discussion here. Throw me some questions. Ask me what I think about stuff. But the other local news, I wanted to tie this in. So just again, our Santa Barbara County Sheriff won't even tell our local elected body, doesn't feel like he needs to be accountable to anybody to explain how ICE is operating in our community, even though ICE continues to do unsafe things. They have shot Americans. They have detained American citizens. They've harmed immigrants. In Camarillo, a man fell off a roof and died only because ICE was there. It never would have happened. This is what I mean when I say California is under occupation. We are being federally occupied. And a lot of law enforcement are very right wing, and they're complicit, and they are in support of this. So I'm in Santa Barbara County. Just to the north of me is San Luis Obispo County. These counties are named after Spanish missions, by the way, that were founded here a bit more than 200 years ago. That's what my grad school work focuses on. I can go into that more later if y'all are interested. But we have to the north San Luis Obispo, District Attorney, rather. He's the District Attorney of the County of Santa Barbara, Dan Dow. If you're new to the channel, that's great. I welcome you. Thank you for being here. But we have covered Dan Dow on Political Payne before. District Attorney for San Luis Obispo County, Dan Dow. We have looked at him before. Let's get an image up so you can get an idea of what this guy looks like. Here's San Luis Obispo District Attorney Dan Dow. And if you remember on this channel, I have talked about him before. Dan Dow prosecuted Black Lives Matter activists in 2020, was totally dishonest about it, basically tried to throw the book and charge them with felonies for blocking traffic, which is just civil disobedience. And he actually got kicked off the case because he was using it to fundraise off of. He was gloating about it in his fundraising emails that he was going after Black Lives Matter. So the case actually was entirely dismissed because he was corruptly trying to promote himself off of it. He was also at pro-secessionist movements or pro-secessionist meetings. There's this group called New State California where they're like a right wing. They want to secede from California. They want to start a new red state within the state, essentially. And he went to that meeting and he was yucking it up, palling it up with Candace Owens. And you want to talk about right-wing extremists, Candace Owens for sure is one of them. But what is Dan Dow up to these days? Well, Dan Dow got on his social media and he was really upset about the election of Zohran Mamdani. Zohran Mamdani, very good news. We will talk about the election more, but great news from the beautiful state of New York. And Zohran Mamdani wins the election, the first Muslim mayor, Democratic Socialist of the New York City, the Big Apple. And this local district attorney here in San Luis Obispo County retweeted a post, basically, and reposted it that was connecting Zohran Mamdani in some way to 9/11. And he had no apologies to make. He basically pulled I have friends who are Muslim. I have a Jewish friend. I'm not this guy. Dan Dow. He's a Christian nationalist. He's hardcore. He's a far right extremist who is just the head of local law enforcement in the county of Santa Barbara. So that's the kind of local connection that you're going to find to the right wing in this country, to right wing politics. And this is just what they've accepted as normal. What the right wing in this country, they think it's totally fine to vilify people based on their race. They think it's fine uh, um, to profile people based on their race. They think people of color, people with skin other than my obviously I'm a white boy as well, but they think like people who don't look like us shouldn't be here, and they don't mind violating human rights, violating the Constitution, violating your rights if you oppose them. So that's the situation we find ourselves in. That's what that's the reality of right wing politics in the United States. Um, I got a comment here. Elf F Jeff Sessions. I thought it was Elf Jeff Sessions. He's a little guy. He's a little not a good elf, a bad elf. But yeah, F Jeff Sessions. Yeah, Jeff Sessions is no bueno. We don't like Jeff Sessions. He's very bad guy. I like to do impressions. I like to have fun on here. I don't mean to sound so serious and so uh, doom and gloom, but we got to be real with what's going on in this country. And I stand against it. People have told me, "Are you come across as really biased?" Yeah, yes, I own it. I'm a journalist, but I am to the left. I own my politics. I believe in universal human rights for everybody, not just for the people you who look a certain way or talk a certain way. That applies to everybody. So that has been so eroded at this point that people on the right are justifying military occupation of the country. And this is fascism 101 stuff, folks. Uh, Trump is committing war crimes in the Caribbean. He's dropping bombs on boats, innocent people. And even if you think these boats might be running drugs, which I've seen no evidence to suggest that, you are basically, if you aren't crying out that these are heinous war crimes, you're endorsing extrajudicial execution of people who are just suspected of a crime. They're alleged of crimes. So I hope you or nobody in your friends or family have ever been suspected even of, I don't know, selling a dime bag or something, or being in the wrong place at the right time, because it could mean your life if you're caught in the crosshairs of this administration. It's really quite insane. Um, and we're also living through the longest now government shutdown. Is anybody in the chat? I have 4 of you here now. Is anybody affected by the government shutdown? Because I know people affected by the government shutdown. I know people affected by the government shutdown. I have friends, multiple, who they're not working right now. They're not being paid. Some of them are working. They have to go still work. They heed the call because they work for a federal agency, but they're not being paid. They're not being paid. And the Republicans have control of the House of Representatives. They have control of the Supreme Court, the Senate. So the Senate is the entire judicial branch, the both houses of Congress. The Supreme Court just just rubber stamps whatever Trump wants. Let's Trump do whatever he wants. It's a completely far right Supreme Court, a completely political body at this point. And then, of course, Trump in the executive branch. So the Republicans are in total control, but yet the government is shut down again because they will not compromise on a single thing. All they have to tell their voters is illegal immigrants, illegal immigrants. Oh, the Democrats, they want to give healthcare to illegal immigrants. It's starting to dawn on people. They're seeing what their healthcare premiums are going to go to if the ACA subsidies aren't continued. And it's not looking pretty. It's not looking pretty. We're already have terrible jobs numbers. The economy is tanking. The tariffs have disrupted all kinds of industries. Republicans destroy the economy. I've only lived through several of the last economic downturns, but Not the one Reagan caused. I was born in '89, but I remember well the economic downturn that George W. Bush caused by deregulating the housing market. I remember the outcome it had in our community and the economic struggle. I mean, I lived through it. My wife and I, we lived through it, and we had very little, and it was very hard to get ahead at that time. And so, if you know somebody who went into the federal government to get a good job, to get a solid job, that's not even safe. Government jobs are usually some of the most safe and it's civil service. You don't make a ton of money, but at least it's a stable income with some benefits. But you can't even count on that anymore if a Republican's in office. They might just they tried to fire everybody, sweeping firings through Doge and handing the keys of our government over to the richest man in the world, just taking control of our government. This is cartoonish. It's cartoonish, and it's insane. Looks like Keith is here. Hey, Keith, you got any questions, any thoughts? Anything you're looked at or things you've seen? The food lines in our communities are getting longer. All kinds of stress in the system. I see. We're seeing more unhoused people. Um, it's a problem, and this is a problem that now so many of these issues are falling on our local governments. Also, planes are grounded because of the FFA. Keith was also one of my music students back in the day. He can he can jam, he can riff and jam, all that stuff. Ram, electric pianos. Keith's great. Good to see you, Keith. Throw a comment in there, everybody. I got 5 of you now. I got 4 on YouTube, 1 on Twitch. This is all I need, man. I would be happy. I'm happy that you guys are here, guys and gals, theys and thems, whoever, all my siblings across the world. You're all welcome. Let me know what you think. Let me know what is going on. Ask me a question. This is a dialogue. This is a dialogue, back and forth. But the more recent thing is, just to crush us working people under his authoritarian thumb even more, Donald Trump, his administration has blocked SNAP benefits. He has stopped funding SNAP, which is food. This is what people call food stamps, or it's basically it's not just people. It's for people in a certain income bracket who qualify for this. If you have a certain number of children, millions of children are fed by SNAP every year, every month, every week, every day. And Republicans are saying, this Republican administration, the Republican-led government, are saying until Democrats cave to us, we're not going to compromise one bit until they cave to us and allow us to raise your insurance premiums by, in some cases, 200, 300, 500%. Unless they let us do that, we're going to, we're going to starve the children. And they're sitting on a backup fund. The government is sitting on a backup fund that is specifically for SNAP, for food aid, and they are not releasing these funds. And a judge ordered that they had to. And this is just how horrifying and dystopian the times we live in. But they went to the appeals court and basically said no. They declared it to be an emergency. We need an emergency declaration that no, we're not going to feed the starving children and the starving poor people or the starving elderly people. So the Supreme Court, completely corrupt, completely, if you don't remember, we have Clarence Thomas on the Supreme Court, conservative court justice, who was getting bankrolled by a right-wing billionaire, taking him on fishing trips and getaways and all kinds of other insanity. Just open grift, open graft, open corruption. This is the most openly corrupt administration we have seen in modern American history. It would make the Teapot Dome scandal guys blush. It would make the guys of the Gilded Age who bought politicians openly, Tammany Hall, all that stuff. It would make them like they wouldn't believe it. Whether it's Trump doing his crypto schemes, getting a gift of an airplane from Qatar, and now all of a sudden Qatar is going to build a military base in our country in Oklahoma or Idaho, is it? And but that's not good enough. Got to starve the children. Got to block food aid just to prove a point. Um, I don't know what it takes for people to remember that this is just what the Republican Party represents. They've talked about small government for a long time because they hate the very idea of government. They hate the very idea of the government supporting people. They want everybody to be totally beholden to the wealthy capitalist class in this country. They want all of us struggling for jobs. And, for the longest time, there had been a division in the Republican Party amongst Republicans who were supportive of immigration or having, they didn't want to regulate immigration. They didn't want to enforce it as much because they wanted a cheap workforce that was easy to intimidate. And now we see that they still want a cheap workforce that's easy to intimidate, but they want that to be Americans, and that's why they're starving people. And it's awful. This is awful. I can't believe, like, so the Trump administration told the Supreme Court, "Hey, you need to let us." Even though a judge just ordered us to release this backup fund that's meant for situations like this, where there's a shutdown or some such issue, so that SNAP funding won't disappear. They said, nope, it's an emergency. We need to block this entirely. And so across the country, food banks, local charities, Catholic charities, all kinds of Salvation Armies are picking up the brunt of this, but 40 million or more, 42 million, 44 million Americans rely on SNAP for food. And we're rolling in, this is November, we're rolling into Thanksgiving time. None of the planes can fly because the FFA is basically, it's like two guys, one guy at a time at your local airport. And so who's going to be able to fly home for Thanksgiving? Who's going to be able to afford groceries? Because when you cut SNAP, that actually raises the price of groceries. Because now, it's like the same thing. Our government actually does have a lot of big corporations that it subsidizes, and supermarkets are one of them, not just through SNAP, but also through the subsidization of corn and other crops. So I think people forget, like, this is the point. They are trying to harm people. They're trying to create scarcity. They're trying to create pain. You're watching Political Pain, so I know a thing or two about this. This is how the right wing in this country operates, and they have nothing but disdain for working people. And it's terrible. I don't know what else to say or how. You might be like me. You might doom scroll every night and just see the horrors of ICE attacks on people, and all the different ways that our society is eroding and crumbling, and the rich keep getting richer. Elon Musk just got a $1 trillion deal from Tesla. He's going to be the world's first trillionaire, as if that's anything we need. And it's dystopian. I call it a right-wing tech dystopia, because now this technology that was supposed to set us free has created the most powerful mass surveillance weapons in world history. And I do think a lot of this is by design. There's a reason why the genocide in Gaza was They just showed it to us. I mean, they had the ability, I do believe, to block a lot of stuff online, and they have. But I think there's a strong part of it that where um, they're okay with people seeing what's going on because they want people to know and to stay in line. That this is the way things go. And for too long, we've had politicians who are okay with that, not just in the Republican Party, but in the Democratic Party as well. We've had politicians in the United States. Let's transition to the election news. But before we get to that, we have some wonderful news. Ding dong, Nancy Pelosi, of all people, is retiring. She's finally going to uh, let power out of the clutch of her fist. Um, for some people, Nancy Pelosi is a hero of progressive politics. If this is your idea of a progressive, you need to raise your expectations a little bit. You need to adjust your ideas. I mean, she's a millionaire, many times over, has used her office to line her pockets through investments. They're literally day traders. I don't know if you guys know this, but they're literally day traders who just trade the way Nancy Pelosi does. Because Nancy Pelosi is the type of politician, and there are lots of them in Congress, don't get me wrong, who will leave a a closed hearing on economic matters or security matters, national security, and go move a bunch of investments around because she knows what news is going to come out and what the market will do. Um, Nancy Pelosi, is from our state of California, my state. I assume most of y'all in the chat are here. Please say hello in the chat. Give me a comment. Let me know what you're thinking about this. I will share it on screen. I will respond to it. Let's have the discussion here. But Nancy Pelosi's been in Congress since before I was born. She's part of the political generation of Democrats who served under the right-wing realignment of the country by Ronald Reagan, and they have basically played to the center, tacked to the right, and been a centrist pro-corporatist party for generations now. And part of why we are where we are as a country and the mess that we're in is because of this. Is because of, for so long, we've had Democrats that were basically Republican light. And the only thing you had to do to be progressive was look different than, a white guy in a tie, right? Like Nancy Pelosi, she was a groundbreaker as far as a woman in Congress. But she's still been a servant to corporations, a servant to corporate landlords. She is herself, has massive holdings of real estate. And she attacked the new left progressives that entered Congress, had nothing but disdain for AOC and Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib. Like these few rays of hope in this dystopian corporatist nightmare that we live in with the only party. If you're anywhere on the left, I know plenty of left wing people. They will never vote for the Democrats. They just won't vote, and that's fine. But I do think voting has some utility. And we can talk about some of these changes that are happening, but I just think it's important to take note that Nancy Pelosi is leaving. She held on to power for so long. At least she learned the lesson. So she learned a lesson from Dianne Feinstein. She doesn't want to die in office. She learned a lesson from Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who died in office, wouldn't retire when Obama had the Senate and the presidency. And so therefore handed a conservative majority over to Trump and kind of ruined our lives, all of our lives. The decisions of very few people for vanity and just this need. We call it the gerontocracy, right? Geriatrics just holding on to power. Joe Biden said he would only run for one term. So Nancy Pelosi is leaving. I think it's a good thing that she's leaving. I think you should encourage more and more Democratic politicians who are aged, and not just aged, in their bodies and minds, but aged in their policies, aged in their politics. We need better politics. I wish I could, get in a DeLorean, a time machine, and go back to 40 years ago and get a 40 years younger Bernie Sanders, or have a rejuvenation serum and young up Bernie Sanders and have him run again. But that's just ain't the way it's going to be. But we could talk about great news on Tuesday. Guess what? If you occupy states and cities with the military, if you deploy massed thugs, troops across the country, if you starve children through blocking SNAP benefits, if you do everything you can, tariffs, which drive disarray across our economy, turns out that's really unpopular. Turns out the American people don't like that stuff. If you crack down on free speech, tell people they're not allowed to protest or they're not allowed to say certain things about overseas countries that we might support as they enact wholesale human slaughter, or if you say the wrong thing online after the death of a podcaster or whatever, we're going to come after you. Remember, they were threatening anyone to the left of MAGA after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Anybody to the left of MAGA, we're coming for you, was the message. They were so upset and threatened by that a lone wolf gunman didn't go after a school of school children, didn't go after a church of people of color, didn't go after people of color at a grocery store, which we've seen right-wing extremists do again and again and again and again and again in our country, because we have so many guns available to for the most awful people you can imagine to pick up. Once it came for one of their own, then it was okay. We're going to come after you. We're going to everyone to the left is a domestic terrorist. Stephen Miller, guess what? Stephen Miller grosses more people out than he attracts. Every time he gets on cable news and runs his Goebbels mouth, his Goebbels style rhetoric, people don't like that. So on Tuesday, we had a spate of elections across the country. In California, we had Proposition 50. Now, let's talk about Prop 50. If you're in the chat and you voted for Prop 50, let me know. I know I did. If you're somewhere else, just let me know. Drop a comment. Please like the stream. It'll help people see it. But I voted for Prop 50. And it's funny. I was criticizing Democrats earlier. I don't like Gavin Newsom. And people were wondering why I would support Gavin Newsom, or I would support Prop 50, but not Gavin Newsom. I don't love Gavin Newsom. And, I want to be real about Prop 50. Prop 50 is a defensive position. What was Proposition 50? Proposition 50 here in California, it passed. Congratulations, everybody. Is a temporary shifting of, we have an independent redistricting committee for our U.S. House of Representative districts in Congress. And Prop 50 moved the power back to the state legislature. It used to be in the power of the state legislature. Years ago, Californians voted to have independent redistricting because we believe in fairness. Tens of millions of Californians believe gerrymandering is wrong. But Texas came out because Trump declared, I need you to redistrict. They're gonna, he knows how unpopular, they know how unpopular Republicans, how unpopular their policies are and how unpopular their approach is. They know. And so what's their answer? We're gonna gerrymander red states even more so than they already are. And what's the result? Texas, Missouri, I think it's South Carolina. I could be misremembering a few of them, but multiple red states where they have control of the legislature have begun partisan gerrymandering, where they're chopping up maybe there's 2 blue or 3 blue districts in these states, and they're chopping those up with areas that are heavily Republican. And so California said, okay, tit for tat, we will respond in kind. And Prop 50 proposed a specific map that was proposed by the state legislature. So it returned power from the hands of the Independent Redistricting Committee temporarily back to the state legislature for this new map. That's only undoes what Texas did. Let's be real. And then it's going to go back for the next census in 2030. It's going to go back to the Independent Redistricting Committee. So some people, were acting like they're little baby birds that just popped out of an egg, and why would California do such a thing? Why would California? I thought we cared about democracy. Completely ignoring what was going on in these red states, and that this was a response. F around and find out, right? Looks like I got 6 of you watching now, 5 on YouTube. This is fantastic. I love you. You're beautiful people. We love you. You're fantastic. Thank you. Please like the stream. Drop a comment. What are you thinking? What do you want to hear about? What are you pissed about? Did you vote? What did you vote for? What state are you in? We have fantastic news out of multiple states. Mississippi's supermajority was broken because, again, it's very unpopular what Republican policies. People forget. We have amnesia in this country. People forget how bad Republicans are for the economy, how authoritarian and hateful a lot of their policies are towards Americans who don't fit in a certain exact mold, right? And people responded to that. In Virginia and New Jersey, the governorship flipped or was won by Democrats. I'm not a huge fan of all of these politicians. Abigail Spanberger, for instance, is a CIA agent, a Democrat. She was a Democrat in the Congress for some years. This is after being CIA. I'm on the left. I'm a progressive left. I'm a leftist. Don't like the CIA. I don't know why if that's still a controversial position, but we don't like the CIA, guys. Central Intelligence Agency. We don't like them. They're very bad. Mass graves across the world filled because of the machinations of the CIA. So, if you want to get an idea of centrist politics and centrist media, the Washington Post literally said in like the opening lead of her winning, Abigail Spanberger, known for her career, or balancing her career as a spy and a mother of 3, this Democrat went on to win the governorship. So that is the kind of soft gloves that are that are handled for a centrist pro-empire Democrat. Okay, so let's just be real. But we all know the best news from Tuesday is the election of Zohran Mamdani, the new New York mayor-elect. Fantastic news. Ran on an unapologetic platform of democratic socialism. Let's work on. Oh, I'm sorry. The government should tax wealthy people, redistribute that wealth to benefit the common good, the general welfare. That's only like the definition of government. That's only in the preamble of our Constitution. New York for so many years now has just been the playground of the wealthy elite. Like they didn't want anyone else living there. They made it more and more expensive for regular people, working people, to live in the city. And along came Zohran Mamdani. It's also very significant. I mentioned about this local. We had this local in nearby me here in California. We had this local district attorney who, just blatantly racist and Islamophobic about the victory of Zohran Mamdani. He basically brought up 9/11, put frickin' 9/11 in his mouth about a Muslim man, the first Muslim, who was a child when 9/11 happened, the first Muslim mayor of New York City. And it's worth remembering that, like, the left and the Democratic Party gets accused of identity politics a lot. There's nobody who does identity politics more than the American right wing, than white Americans who, they really have made it clear. Obviously, Trump is conducting an ethnic cleansing across the country with ICE, but he even threatened to deport Zohran Mamdani if he won. So, I'm really happy that Mamdani won. Again, he ran on this positive message, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez made a really good point from his victory party that not only did Mamdani win, and he won with more than 50%, that's what they call a mandate in political speech, right? But he did it by attacking. He didn't. He did it while being under attack by not just Republicans but Democrats. Andrew Cuomo lost the primary. Andrew Cuomo was the Democratic governor. A nepo baby, a child of elite privilege of a very famous New York mayor named Cuomo. And, so he never would have been there if it weren't for, being a wealthy political dynasty, having a totally corrupt brother at CNN, like giving him secret coaching while he was, he was under fire as governor of New York, not just because he sent a bunch of COVID infected people to elderly patient care homes, leading to the preventable deaths of many, many elderly people in New York. But he was assaulting and groping and harassing women who worked under him on the regular, and so just a complete slime ball. But Zohran Mamdani went against the Democratic Party establishment. Couldn't get an endorsement from Hakeem Jeffries until like the last minute. Schumer still doesn't even want to put the guy's name in his mouth. So that tells you a thing or two. About where the Democratic Party actually is. If people say, "Oh, well, New York is a very liberal place. It's it's far left." If you go watch some of the footage from Mamdani's win, literally, like I saw a 90-year-old woman who's like, "I'm sorry, I have to put my teeth in," and she's like, "Yes, I've always been a liberal. I've always voted Democrat, but I just love this young man and I love what he stands for. He inspired." So many people, and there's one thing I want everybody to take from the Zohran Mamdani win. There was some exit polling done. They said that 86% of his voters in this exit poll said they were voting for him, not against Cuomo. There were some people who voted for Mamdani because they just didn't want Cuomo to win, but 86% of people voted for him. This is a big disagreement that I see people having around. If you like, I've had it with people I know and love, like about what went wrong in 2020 or 2024 rather, how Kamala Harris lost to Donald Trump. You cannot just give people something to vote against. You have to give people something to vote for. You have to stand on moral principle and moral clarity. Harris would not disavow Biden's Israel policy. Wouldn't do it. Wouldn't even just go against him on anything, actually. And more of the same, business as usual. We can't afford this anymore. Anymore. We can't afford business as usual in this country. It's killing us. It's killing me, right? Like I'm parched here. I need some water. There's 6 of you here. My audience has doubled. It's huge. It's big. It's beautiful. Help me out here, folks. Please throw me a question before I dehydrate. Ugh. You're beautiful people. We love you. Please talk to me. I'm all alone here. Oh, Fishhead said, "That's right. What's right? What? Help me out, man. But welcome. I love you. You're beautiful. We love you. You're the most beautiful people we've ever seen. Tremendous. We hate Donald Trump. We hate him. He's bad. But just throw me a question. What do you guys think? What did you guys think of Mom Donnie winning? I think it's fantastic. Like, uh, you know, I'm one of these. I'm a working class guy. My wife and I living paycheck to paycheck our whole adult lives. Um, but because I live in California in an agricultural town, I'm what they call the coastal elite. We're coastal elite. So, but contrast the two coastal things that we just had: Prop 50 versus Zoran Mamdani. Prop 50 is a defensive position. We're just trying to run defense on the midterms. Even we're just playing ahead for the midterms. But Zoran Mamdani is running with vision, running with moral clarity, running on addressing people's needs. Yeah, government can do things for people. I love this fish on head. It was a ray of hope in a sea of shit right now. Yes, yeah. I mean, you might, Fishhead, you might be like me, and this particular version of Trump has, like if you just get on social media and look at the horrors every day, it's incredibly demoralizing. It affects my mental health. Um, it fills me with feelings that like I have always been a leftist, or I've always been on the left, but I've always been a pacifist and a against violence and against militarism and hypernationalism. I've always been against these things, but to see the horror and the violence that's being waged against our people, against the citizenry, against immigrants, I don't care what documents you do or don't have. Human beings are human beings, and everybody deserves dignity and respect and security and food and shelter. Like those are, to me, those should be universal human rights. And to see the cheerleading of this horror by regular people, normal people, working class people, it's so easy. I mean, think of all the people who are just silent, who either they don't go look at the footage of what ICE is doing, they don't look at the footage of the man from Massachusetts having a seizure, they don't look at as ICE tries to snatch his wife and baby away, they don't look at the footage of fishing boats in the Caribbean being bombed by our military. Do you think anybody who thinks only the most heartless, soulless people think that that's a good use of our military? Um, extrajudicial execution, war crimes. It's awful. That's what I meant earlier about you know. Um, now we can see it. It's on our phones. We saw what happened in Gaza. Plenty of people just didn't. They just went, nope, I'm not going to see it. That's on TikTok. No thanks. That's communist propaganda. China's telling you what to think. They won't even be bothered to look at it. They can't be bothered to care or post about the horrors that are being meted out. I mean, what ICE is doing, that affects people I love, affects my community. My community, they've canceled like cultural festivals. People aren't going to church. Like the churches are not having the attendance they once had. People are horrified. This is a reign of terror. Terrible things. Terrible, terrible things. Um, Fishhead said 100%. Yeah, man, I only speak the truth. I only speak facts. Javi said, yes, sir, especially if you're contributing to society at the same time. I mean, they hate the idea of society. The right wing. Here's a little history lesson for you. Margaret Thatcher, across the sea in England, she reigned at the same time as Ronald Reagan, and this is the beginning of neoliberal economics, which is typified by massive deregulation of corporate entities, of the private sector, and the privatization of government, more and more government being farmed out rather than having a strong civil service and government jobs, which, also aligns with the biggest middle class we've ever had in this country, was when we had a strong civil service and investiture in our government. Imagine that creates economic stability to constantly have people building infrastructure and providing healthcare and all these other things. Margaret Thatcher, who was a part of, in England, of this great dismantling of the social security or the social safety net and, state functions that promote the general welfare. She has a famous quote where she said, somebody said, "Yeah, well, what about the public? What about what this does to the public?" And she said, "There is no public. They're only individuals and the individual families." So the right wing is so against the idea of collectivism. That's the idea that we together are, one thing. We are one people, one public. If we pollute the air, that affects everybody. If we pollute the water, that affects everybody. If we let Walmart dump chemicals into the river, if we let these massive AI data centers suck up all our water resources and pollute, carbon emitting gases into our environment and accelerate the climate, this is a bad thing for everybody. They don't believe in that. They don't care. They as long as they're super mega wealthy, have their compounds, the military, notice that the only part of the government that they believe in funding is law enforcement and military. And we see how now we have a domestic military uh, deployment across the country. I got 7 people watching now. 7, 6 on YouTube, 1 on Twitch. Please say hi, drop a comment, let me know what you're thinking, how you're feeling. You feeling good? We're basically just trying to survive, man. Trying to get by. Um, but I do believe it's important for us to engage in political action of many kinds. Fish said, but then we can't give Elon $1 trillion. Yeah, that's super important, I guess. Keep in mind, Tesla was subsidized by our government. This guy's the richest guy in the world because they're looting our tax money. I live in Santa Maria, California. We're in earshot of Vandenberg Space Force Base. Now I get to do my Hank Hill impression. Back in my day, we called it an Air Force Base. Vandenberg Space Force Base is called that because there's a giant launch pad out there that SpaceX launches from. If you didn't know, Vandenberg here, it's a big air. Well, like I said, used to be an Air Force base. Now it's a Space Force base. This is where they test. The military tests ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missiles, from here for years. They say they don't have nukes there anymore. No, we don't have any nukes. We just test the way that we launch the nukes. Not us. We don't have any nukes. I'm thinking of the friendly flower from Cuphead. But yeah, everyone who lives around here, we know there's nukes out there. There's nukes out there. Okay, don't kid yourself. But there was a massive launch pad and runway that was developed in the 80s. This area was going to have a lot more space, a lot more NASA involvement. But then the Challenger exploded in 85, the Challenger space shuttle. And it led to a massive funding cuts, and they scuttled the shuttle program, basically. And so it actually led to like a local recession around here. But they had this infrastructure out there at Vandenberg. I do this because it's I'm pointing in the direction of it. I say maybe it's more like over there. But that was all sitting there, and that basically Space Force. Like, if you guys don't know, Space Force as a agency or a what is it, a division, a department of our military, it's not that big. It's not. It really is not that big at all. It's like a few thousand people. I call it five corporations in a trench coat. And it's basically, they're like IT for all these private space contractors, like SpaceX and Bezos's rocket company. I can't remember what it's called. But so we are subsidizing these people. They just announced, so SpaceX has been doing like a launch a week out here. And they just announced that they're going to double the output for SpaceX. So Elon Musk, before he threw up his, Nazi salute at the inauguration, he contributed more money. He bought the election for Trump. He bought the 2024 election. And now how does, one hand washes the other? You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Now everyone here on the central coast of California has to breathe the rocket exhaust from double the launches of SpaceX because of this. This is how power works in our country. Um, um, I believe, I don't know. I don't think it's even for larger rockets, Fishhead. I think it's just for volume, so they can do more of them. That's what I think is going on. I'll look more into it. But yeah, that's what's going on. And yeah, Fishhead says I hate the rattling all the time. So you're local. Um, um, so yeah, it's like, we people don't understand. Like, we hear it. People in Lompoc are Lompoc is the smaller city than Santa Maria, right next to Vandenberg Space Force Base. And there are people out there who talk about they get property damage from all this. And it's every you it used to be like they used to do launches from Vandenberg. It was when the military tested an ICBM. People would come from far and wide. They would drive from far and wide to go watch it. And now they're so frequent. Like, we're barely even told that one's going to happen. They happen like every week. Every week you hear this massive just sound. And you're like, what's going on? What's that? And you look up in the sky and see this trail heading up the sky. For some reason, all the conspiracy theorists, they really hate when they see contrails from planes, when plane engines, stir up condensation in the sky. That really upsets them. But for some reason, not when like massive amounts of jet fuel or rocket fuel are burned above them. It's just like, hey, it's good for jobs. We get the jobs. Oh, hey, so Fishhead asked, did you have a good rest of your day at the Chalk Festival? So you're the bro who came up. You're the homie who came up and said hi to me. That was a wild experience, man. At the Chalk Festival, Fishhead here walked up and said, "Hey, are you political Payne?" That was like the first time that's ever happened to me. So that was pretty cool. So thanks for doing that. I had a great time. The family of the McConnells, good friends of mine, were there. This is, I believe, the first year they did the Chalk Festival since we lost Champion McConnell, who was a good friend of mine and musical collaborator. He passed away, but he would do the Chalk Festival every year and would draw these beautiful. He was an incredible visual artist as well as a musician, and so we had a great time hanging with the McConnells. We went and got some lunch at the pizza place nearby. That was a good time. So that's where I grew up, was in Orchid. Fishhead says, awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. It was good. Thanks for coming up and saying hi. That was really cool. Actually, in other local news, I was talking about political participation, not just the elections, but we also have people mobilizing in an incredible way out here across the country. Santa Maria had its own iteration of the King's March, which I went out and covered. Happy to do it as well. I know some people were kind of poo-pooing the whole thing and saying, that, what's going to come of this. If you think nothing is coming from everybody in a community who feels a certain way about this authoritarian regime and what they're doing, getting together and speaking, that's Cesar Vasquez. He was supposed to be my guest tonight, but he had to bail because volunteers are being, attacked by ICE and local police agencies. But this is downtown Santa Maria where I'm from. We had that's a funny sign. We had all kinds of people, from different organizations, non-affiliated with organizations. We have our own local Indivisible chapter. There you can see two of the different types of Halloween Trader Joe's bags in there. And my wife, my beautiful wife, she's very good, very political wife. But if you notice in that shot, we did have one inflatable suit. It was a Barney the dinosaur suit, which is pretty funny. But I saw multiple community organizations. I saw multiple people I know, and you saw people putting their names down to get involved in organizing. Cesar Vasquez there is, talking about the, anti-ICE organizing that he's doing. And, I saw a lot of different folks out. We saw a bunch of boomers, and I think this is important. This far right authoritarian Trump administration is calling everybody to the left of MAGA, the radical left, the radical left. That's I don't think they understand the work they're doing for us who are actually consider ourselves leftists. Because if I saw like little old ladies who went to Burger King on the way, and to get little crowns to wear for the King's March, and you're going to lump those those elderly liberal Democratic voters with Antifa, with whatever kids who show up in Black Bloc, or other, the radical left, the Communist Party, whatever you want to call. If you want to call everybody the radical left, okay, man. But all of a sudden, don't be surprised when a someone describing themselves as a democratic socialist like Zohran Mamdani starts doing well in an election. Don't be surprised by that. It shouldn't surprise you, because and that's the thing. I talked about. I don't love Gavin Newsom, but just the fact that the guy's like standing up, and showing like a basic amount of a backbone, like when like a tadpole starts to form a tail, it gets a little pieces of cartilage that resemble a backbone. The Democrats have been so spineless for so long that Newsom comes around and just shows a bit of aggression back. Don't be surprised when he gets popular. Like a lot of Californians, including Democrats and lefties like me, we don't love Gavin Newsom. But just the fact that he's standing up and fighting, we know he's greasy. We know he's corrupt. We know he's Nancy Pelosi's nephew. Like, we know all these things about him. But, the right hate him so much. This is what they used to accuse us about with Trump. You're going to hate the guy right into the White House. Yeah. So Fishhead is saying, glad to hear it. Yeah, we're having people mobilizing in our community, making connections. And I think people are ready to get involved, and they might not have been for a long time. This is what happens. The right wing in this country, they overplay their hand quite a bit. You see it again and again. So Fishhead is responding to my thoughts on Newsom. I don't either, but he is doing something. And hate his homeless policy. Yeah, he's gone himself and cleared out people's encampments. Shoveled people's their property and the few things that they have. Trashed it. I did a post here on. So follow me on TikTok, guys, if you can. Here's a TikTok I did. My cats will make appearances, and if you like cats, check out TikTok and address a little confusion. I want to respond to this and address a little confusion from my last post where I said I support Prop 50, but I don't love Gavin Newsom. And folks are wondering, why do I support one and not the other? I think it's important that we have healthy disagreement in politics. And, I voted for Prop 50. I support Prop 50. We need to do something to counter the partisan gerrymandering by Republicans, this corrupt power grab in red states. In California, we already voted for independent redistricting. And now what we're voting putting forward with Prop 50 is to temporarily give that power back until the next census to the state legislature to counter this corrupt, Republican gerrymandering. Now, Gavin Newsom, I think he represents the center of the Democratic Party, the pro-corporate center. I'm more on the progressive Bernie Sanders left side. But the best thing I can say for Newsom is he recognizes we're in a struggle for power. For too long, Democrats are bringing flowers to a knife fight. And whether or not he's the future of the Democratic Party, that'll be decided in the next primary. I want to respond to this and address.
I don't know if I came up with that flowers to a knife fight, but it's true, man. I think it's true anyway. But that's my TikTok. Check it out. If y'all are on that platform, I do like to have fun. This one kind of blew up. This is my most watched TikTok. Check this out.
She's a radical left person at a level that nobody. She's a radical left person at a level that nobody's seen. She picked a radical left man. She's a radical.
Well, that's a lot of fun. She's a radical left person. She's the most radically left. When I look at my beautiful wife, perfect wife of 10 plus years, and that's true. I think I might be even more left than my wife, but she keeps me grounded. She's always telling me, "You guys got to keep you lefties. You got to keep things relatable. You can't just be." And she's right. The left has to be less harping on everybody all the time, less shaming everybody all the time. And, that's, I think Zohran Mamdani understood that. I think Bernie understands that a lot, that we need class politics better. But just listen to this one more time. Listen to how long it takes Trump to search for the word man.
She's a radical left person at a level that nobody's seen. She picked a radical left man.
Yes, she did. And boy, man, he just does not have the same level of. He's just not what he used to be, is he? He's just not what he once was. But yeah, this is my TikTok page. I got Javier is talking to me here too. Let me stop the screen share for a second and let me respond to your guys' comments there. That's my beautiful wife walking by. I want to give her a little wink. So Javi says there is no radical right anymore because they are called MAGA now. Yeah, I guess they mainstreamed it, man. We used to call it alt-right. Remember the fascists called themselves alt-right because they recognized we're the alternative right. They're mainstream now. The fascist right are totally mainstream. We're seeing it. They won, man. They won. Fishhead said this about my Gavin Newsom post. Thank you. I try. Check out my Instagram and my TikTok. I'm trying to get better at just being concise. That is difficult for me. That's very difficult for me. I like to talk. You guys could probably pick that up from this hour and 23 minute now live stream. I do like to talk. I do go on. But Javi says we didn't love Kamala either, and she became the vice president. LOL. Well, yeah, and that's the thing is if you guys remember, she was the first to duck out of the primary, and the 2020 primary because she had no riz or no play. People were not interested, and I don't think she wanted to get to the California part of the primary and do very poorly in our state. And in fact, if you remember, our beautiful, big, beautiful state of California went to Bernard Sanders, the fantastic senator from Vermont. So, this Kamala was not the one, man. And part of it was she's a machine politician. I think she did. I knew she was aiming for running for president when she was a senator. One of the first things she did was she co-sponsored Medicare for All with Bernie. Co-sponsored Medicare for All. totally backed away from it in the primary. If she just, even if she didn't believe it, if she just adopted progressive Bernie policies, she probably would have done a lot better. But she doesn't really believe in that stuff, and that's what people recognize is when people are just jockeying, when they're just jockeying for, because when they don't really believe something. If you're not authentic, people pick that up, man. Yep, she had that one zinger against Biden in the debate, and that was it. Yeah. That reminds me of the guy when Kramer went on his racist tirade at the Laugh Factory. The guy he yelled a slur at said, "It's because you're not funny, man. You're not funny. That's why you ain't had no movies. Seinfeld, that's it." Seinfeld, that's it. That's the line you reminded me of. She had that one zinger against Biden. That's it. You just didn't have the sauce, man. You just, and you know, it didn't help. We didn't have a primary. We didn't have democracy because Biden couldn't like wrest his clutches from power. You know what? I think I can get away with playing one. I won't violate copyright on here if I play one of my own songs, right? The other thing I do on TikTok is I will once and again play a song. I want to share with you guys a song that I wrote that talks about all these things. I don't know if any of you guys are Woody Guthrie fans, but I was very influenced by Woody Guthrie. You know, this the guy who wrote "This land is your land, this land is my land." He was a big old commie, if you didn't know that about Woody. But I wrote a song, a talking blues, and that was a form. I don't think Woody invented it, but he did a talking blues. Bob Dylan did a talking blues. And the talking blues is where you just pick a song and you start talking, and you're talking the truth at people. And so this is my talking blues. It's called Talking Neo-Fash American Blues. I want to share it with you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Give me a like. Let me know what you, and again, you can find this at Political Payne on TikTok. This is one of my pinned posts, but I never considered myself a songwriter. I've been a musician my whole life, but I've never considered myself much of a songwriter until recently. And it's interesting what hard times will do to a man or a woman or anybody. But let's check this song out.
I'm Political Payne, and this is Talking Neo-Fash American Blues.
Let me try that.
I'm Political Payne, and this is Talking Neo-Fash American Blues. You might have heard about that guy sang a song or two named Woody Guthrie. Wrote the talking blues about rich and powerful mean-type men like Fred Trump who rob you with a fountain pen. Well, believe it or not, but it's still the case. These mean old men still running the place, taking her friends, snatching folks to camps. It's a reign of terror. We can't turn our backs. It's gonna take people power. We used to have labor unions and left-wingers. America used to have folk singers. Well, you see it happen about every day, a new escalation to take our rights away. They already repealed Roe v. Wade, deployed ICE and Marine Corps to LA. You got DC soldiers here to stay. Better get on your knees, kiss their boots and pray. And everyone is afraid to say the wrong thing or MAGA takes your job away. They said they'd make it great again. Only taught you how to hate your friends. Attacking doctors, schools, libraries, teachers, anyone without white-skin features. LGBTQ folks have been around forever, but they erase history in all but two genders. They lie and cheat, steal and scream at anyone who doesn't believe exactly what they want, no matter how mean or stupid and twisted and sick and obscene. Liberals used to say live and let live. Now they say, what more can we give? Well, the right wing, they have run this nation for decades now, since Ronald Reagan. We've only known recession and inflation, so they brainwash each new generation with corporate media conglomeration and authoritarian intimidation, like private prison, mass incarceration, concentration camps, and mass deportation in this militarized police state nation. They used to say land of the free. Now it's show me your papers. You're coming with me.
Money and power drive a man insane, posting genocide and war crimes on Maine. Takes a sick and twisted type of brain to walk real happy on the Epstein's plane. Tech oligarchs with their algorithms, their AI bots to keep you from thinking who put them in charge of everything and divided the working folk throughout the land. America used to have progressive taxation and a middle class throughout the nation. Now I think that we might feel the same about the other party that's part to blame. You hardly ever hear them say the names of FDR or JFK. And lately they ain't been the same, incompetent or bought and sold incontinent. Much too old to the fascists, they just always fold. It's about damn time they all got told. We don't need Ned Flanders. America needs more Bernie Sanders. Don't let them fascists keep you down, terrorize you with their fascist clown. No, it feels demoralizing, but good folks, we keep organizing to protect our friends and communities, keep this messed up country free. It's gonna take both you and me to stand up to this pack of bullies. We're gonna have to talk to each other, family, friends. Say make America think again. Say make America safe again. Say make America fair again. Make the billionaires pay their share again. Make America care again and bring this fascist turn to an end. So I hope you liked that. I hope you enjoyed that one. But let me get it off the screen there. Yeah, so that's a song I wrote. Hobby, Bernie Payne, 2028. That's right. We're gonna bring the pain. We're gonna destroy our enemies. We're gonna provide healthcare as a human right for everybody. We're gonna bring the pain. What do you guys think of the song? I'm just about done here. I'm gonna call it a night here in a minute, but just want to say thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here. I'm still in, I'm still a baby YouTuber as far as it goes. It's been a long time. Thank you, Fishhead. He says I liked it, man. Great job. Thank you. I don't know if it came through that great. I want to re-record it. I'm working on kind of getting some gear together and doing some higher quality stuff that I just did with my phone one day after work because I was pissed off. But that's talking blues. That's where you just keep talking and you keep on talking and you try to speak some truth. Country music is 3 chords and the truth, buddy. I've never like that one is a big combination of kind of my all my interests. Like that includes politics, history, music, journalism. I've always had a lot of interest. Always been kind of a Renaissance man, jackass of all trades, if you will. But I don't often share that. I haven't shared that or combined those two sides of me, and I guess I'm trying to do that now. So I appreciate the kind words. I did mention before that I finished school. I got my master's degree at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. This is where I'm rocking the shirt. The school ain't perfect, but it is a good school. You get a good education there, and I'm proud of the work I did there. And if you want to learn more about that, you can visit my website, politicalpayne.com. Check this out. This is my website, politicalpayne.com. And you're seeing a bit of my dashboard there because it is my website. I'm signed in, but it's politicalpayne, PAYNE.com. And my latest blog post is about my thesis, my master's thesis, Chumash Revolution thesis published. And so I wrote, this is the biggest thing I've ever done, guys. It's about the largest indigenous uprising in California mission history. I'm in Santa Barbara County. There's 3 missions. There's 3 Spanish missions in the county of Santa Barbara. They are missions Santa Barbara. Surprise, surprise, right? They are also missions Santa Ynez, which is this one. This one. No, wait, which way am I pointing? Hey, there, that one right there. That's in Santa Ynez, California. These cities are named after the missions. Oh, hey, look, my website actually does sell ads. Imagine that. I don't see any money from that. But so this is a little illustration I did. But the revolution, the Chumash people, the indigenous people here on the central coast of California, they led the largest revolutionary. I argued in my thesis it's a revolutionary war, and they did it at Mission Santa Barbara, Mission San Ynez, and Mission La Purísima de Concepcion. That's near Lompoc, where I mentioned the Air Force Base. It's it's near there. But this here in the picture, this is Santa Ynez mission, and the revolution. This was in 1824. It's 200 years ago. Last year, so it's not that long ago, people. And the mission period was not that long ago. The Chumash, they had planned a revolution against the missions. This is in after more than 10 years of the first Mexican War of Independence. So it was like a revolutionary period. And California was not that settled. The missions really hugged the coast of California. And here in this county, we have 3. The revolution happened at this constellation of 3 missions. Santa Barbara mission is on the ocean side. Then there's a mountain range. And on the other side of the mountains, they're more inland. You have La Purísima near Lompoc, and then this one here, Santa Ynez mission. And they legit, the Chumash set this mission on fire. They set Santa Ynez on fire. They got in a shootout with the Presidio soldiers at Santa Barbara. The soldiers retreated after a battle there. And then hundreds and hundreds of Chumash people abandoned the missions and they fled inland. They fled up into the mountains and then further inland through like Los Padres Forest. And then they actually occupied Mission La Purísima de Concepcion. If you've seen that new Leonardo DiCaprio movie, One Battle After Another, can't remember the director's name off the top of my head. Sorry about that. But a bunch of that was shot at La Purísima de Concepcion, the state park there, which that's not how the mission really looked. That or that's not the old mission as it was. That's the government rebuilt the mission in the 30s during the works progress, during FDR progressivism. So even our ideas of the missions and how they existed is a modern reimagining, a facade, if you will. But these 3 missions, again, if you want to learn more about this, visit politicalpayne.com. This blog post I did kind of ropes in all the different things that I've done with this. I have my master's thesis. You can see that at the Digital Commons at calpoly.edu. So it's for free to read. You can read this thesis. It's almost like a small book. I'm hoping to expand it into a book. I linked in the story I did for the newspaper I used to work at back in 2018, but some of the sources I looked at original documents. They're still being held at Santa Barbara at the library. They have an archive library there. The Franciscans still maintain Santa Barbara mission. They never gave it up. This is La Purísima, the state park there. But then I also included an interview I've done on this channel. So if you want to learn more about this, get in my channel, go to the recent videos. You can see a really cool interview I did. I'm very proud of this interview. I did it with Marian Para. He's a Chumash elder of the Santa Ynez Valley Band of Chumash Indians. That's the nation, the sovereign nation that's in Santa Ynez Valley. And I interviewed her. Look a little familiar, huh? The drapes and everything. But I interviewed her for this when she talked about. I cited this in my thesis. So that's how I did so much work for this. I'm very proud of it. Trying to give a voice to indigenous people and fish Fishhead says, I will give it a read. Thank you, Fishhead. And he says he's excited to read it. I appreciate that. So, we all grew up out here. For those of us who grew up out here and in the fourth grade, we, if we weren't making our little sugar cube models or styrofoam models of the missions and learning a very fourth grade version of Spanish settler colonialism in California, in Alta California, as they called it, we were, how do I say this? We would field trip to these missions. We would take field trips to Mission La Purísima, San Ynez, Santa Barbara, and they didn't teach us about this. They didn't teach us that the Chumash led a revolution against the missions, and La Purísima was occupied. The Chumash held it. They said, "This is ours now." They fortified it. They hardened it. They cut holes in the adobe brick to shoot from. Like, it was radical militancy. All the workers left the mission. If they weren't going to fight to hold Purísima, they escaped with their labor. There was like a radical labor action. They took a bunch of, they jumped on the backs of horses and then rustled the cattle away from the missions. They took away the productive output of the missions. This is a story I'm trying to tell. I want to tell more in the future, because locals here don't even know about it. You might know a little bit about it. Another thing, if you're here in the Valley of Santa Maria or nearby, to write this down if you've got the time. On November 20th, that's a Thursday, the Santa Maria Valley Democratic Club, the Democrats, those Democrats, on November 20th, they've invited me to their regular meeting, which is at 6:30 p.m., I believe, at the UDW Hall, which is at the corner of Miller Street and Cook Street. It's the old Salvation Army. It's across from the courthouse in Santa Maria. I will be giving a talk there on the Chumash Revolution, the Chumash War of 1824. So you can read my thesis if you want. You can come hear me blah, 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 blah about it if you want. On November 20th at the Santa Maria Valley Democratic Club, Democratic Party Club, 6:30, UDW Hall. Be there, be square. You can hear me talk about it there. You can hear me on this channel here on Political Payne. And I appreciate everybody who was here tonight and joining me. I small audience. I didn't announce I was going to do this. I sent Javi, my buddy, a message. My wife was here in the DMs, in the chat, gassing me up. So I appreciate all y'all. Small channel, local journalist, independent historian, independent musician. I'm just trying to do what I can. It might just be a voice screaming into the void, but at least we had some fun together. I'll see you guys next time. It's been another episode. Political Payne. Stay safe. Left is best. Don't let the fascists keep you down.